I created the screencast to show you guys some different things I've been getting a lot of questions about with using Google Classroom and how we're going to use it in our co-planning, where to access your scope and sequences, matrices, those kind of things. So the first question I'm getting is, do I have to type in Google Classroom up here in my search bar all the time, or I used to just have this app? So you might be familiar, you could press this app, my little apps button, and you would see it here if you just went more, even more, but look, it's not even showing up, okay? So what you have to do is you actually have to make sure you're in your drive, and then press your apps and go more, and then on the even more, it's going to be Google Classroom. If it isn't showing up there, it's because you haven't connected it from the apps marketplace. So to go to the apps marketplace, I'm just going to click my apps button, make sure you're in Chrome for all of this, and I'm going to go to my web store, and then I'm going to search Classroom, and then there will be Google Classroom as an app. You want to make sure it's the app, and then you would add it. It would say add to Chrome, just like this one. So I'd click on it. The other thing you might want to also add while you're in there is this extension Share to Classroom. It's something I'll go into later, but it's an easy way when you actually have your Google Classroom. It's kind of like a Pinterest button where you can just, if you find an article or a video or anything you want, you can just say Share to Classroom, and then boom, it'll go right there. And it would show up right here in your extensions bar. So now that you've connected Classroom through your web store, you can find it in two places. The drive, like I showed you, or if you just go up here now to your apps, I have a bunch of them, Google Classroom would show up right there. Okay, so then now we're going to go into the Ridgeview Elementary Co-Planning / MtSS. So the stream is the discussion board. That is where you guys gave me feedback on the planning guide. I'm actually going to go to the About and show you some of the things I've added. So under the About tab, I've added some helpful links. If there's any others that you guys would like me to add, just let me know. But this is ACE and MAPS, Learning A to Z, Infinite Campus, Alpine, Think Central. All of those links that sometimes are hard to find on the Moffat County site, I put them all right here. So just kind of some helpful links. And then these are all of our scope and sequences. So when you want to open a planning document or matrices or anything, it's actually easiest now to just go here. So if I am in 5th grade, I would click 5th grade scope and sequence. And then here's your scope and sequence. Now notice this is their unit in literacy, and these are each of their subunits. So same thing in math. This is the unit, this is the subunit. Now you can get to your matrices two ways. You can click on your matrix below that unit, or if you want to get to it, you can actually click. So if you click on the unit, the subunit, sorry, each one of them has, you can see they're underlined. That means there's a planning guide attached. So currently I have, you can see a planning guide attached to all of them. And your standards are filled in for the first trimester. Currently in literacy and writing, I haven't done math yet. So let's click on 5th grade schema and pre-reading strategies. So I'm going to click on the link above it that pops up, and it takes you to that planning guide. So notice in your scope and sequence, it said that schema pre-reading strategies was standard 2.1a. So I went ahead and put in your standards for you. So here's standard 2.1a. This is Cal's Greenhouse, 5th grade reading. It says what unit, what subunit, what time frame it's in, weeks 3 to 4. And then this would be your assessment matrix link. Now, if you have a pre-post assessment that goes with this, what we want to do is start linking those to it. So you would just grab that link from wherever you uploaded it in Google Drive. Make sure the share settings are anyone with a link, and you would just copy this and add a link to it. So we could just look at that pre-post assessment. and make sure it aligns to these standards. So I'm going to click on the assessment matrix link, and it's going to take me right into Ridgeview's Moffat SD 5th grade standards matrix for reading, writing, communicating. Now, on these, if you remember last year, we had made all of the assessment matrices for each one of the standards. So here's standard 1.1, 1.2, 2.1. So this can get pretty overwhelming because if you're teaching one of these standards and one of these standards, then you're scrolling back and forth. So what we've done is we've actually built per unit and per subunit what standards would be taught. So if you remember right, schema and pre-reading strategies, which is this first one, unit right here for 2 weeks, is right here. So schema and pre-reading strategies. What we have done is put in 3 columns. So this again would be like your pre-assessment, this would be your post, and then say you would have some in between here. Now if you needed, say you did this one and it was a exit ticket, and guess what, my kids still didn't get it. I'm going to have to do another quick check here. All you have to do is go right beside this, make sure you don't click outside of it, but right beside here, and I go insert, and I want a column to the left of these words, so we would just insert another column there. So you can add as many formative assessments in as you would need. So let me undo that. Okay, then we have one group of kids and the other one, and as you can tell, I'm in a really, really small view as I build these. But say you on your iPad you want to start using these, but you're the bottom class here and you are constantly losing your spot. What we can do is called freeze your cells. And what you would do is I would want to click up here because I want these frozen up here and then these frozen here. So if I scroll across, I won't lose, see how I lose my kids' names? I won't lose that. So I'm going to click up here and I'm going to go to view, freeze, and I'm just going to do 1 row. So that's just going to give me this top row. And what I do is I actually grab this row and drag it to wherever I want it. So I want it right underneath assessment. Okay. And then I want the same thing for my column here. So I'm just going to click here on the student's name. And I'm going to go view, freeze, 1 column. So it froze this top part and this. So now when I scroll over to fiction text, I can still see my kids on there. So that's how that would work. Same thing here. If I need to scroll down to these kids, it still leaves me wherever I want on here. So that's how you can add those freeze cells components. It's completely up to you if you would want those or not. Okay. Notice in literacy, 5th grade has 1 big long unit, so theirs is kind of different, but if you are in 4th grade or 3rd grade, you're going to have multiple units going along the bottom on here. So you would just, to get to your next unit, you would click here. So with the reading, writing, communicating standards, you also have your writing down here. So narratives is their first one. So you can see on here that you would go ahead and still have to freeze the cells on here if you would also like that. But on here, this would be one of your writing units. So within reading, writing, communicating, you'll have your writing units and your reading units. These standards are over here are only for, just so if you want to look, you do not have to fill these in at all. Just remember that when we were planning these, we left out a lot of standards 3.3, which is those writing conventions. because the literacy team is going to scope and sequence those out. So this actually might be a place where you do want to go ahead and paste your students, and as you're teaching punctuation or underlining with quotation marks, you're keeping track of the standard because currently it isn't on the scope and sequence. So that's where this might come in handy there. So say you just want to kind of go back here. So this would be back at this planning guide. This is where we fill it out. But do not please move this to any other folders. We're trying to keep these organized, all connected to this scope and sequence. So if I actually go back to my scope and sequence, say I wanted to start working on my next one, I can click on it. Same thing, my standards are all pasted in here for me, so I'm just really planning on this. Again, it links to my assessment matrices, and that's how these will look.